United States. But from the beginning, Samaria Rice and her family members have said that above all things, they want justice for Tamir. And they want justice for Tamir in the way that our justice system can offer, which is a thoughtful, methodical criminal investigation that then the family believes would result in a proper set of criminal charges against the two police officers who were involved. Now, that was their desire, and they sincerely believe, based upon the videotape evidence that the world has seen, that that would be the result, that would be the process, and above all, Samaria Rice and her family believe that the prosecutor would act as a prosecutor is supposed to behave, which is a victim, an advocate for crime. That was their belief. And even though the process, even as recently as a few months ago, you could say it was an inordinately crazy amount of time that was taking to resolve itself, even under those circumstances, Samaria has consistently said that she would rather that the prosecutor's office engage in a thoughtful and careful review, and I'm quoting her words here, take the time that they need, take whatever time that they need to get it right. But there does reach a point at which it is ridiculous. Because compare the situation in Cleveland to the situation in Baltimore, the situation in South Carolina, where based upon video evidence, or sometimes even less than what we have here, the prosecuting authorities acted swiftly and decisively to pursue justice for the family members of crime victims. And contrast that here with the level of dithering and perseverating and hand-wringing when we have the videotape demonstrating what occurred. And what does it demonstrate? It demonstrates two officers rushing upon a 12-year-old boy at an incredible speed, and in under 2 seconds, about 1.7 seconds by my count, they shot that boy. And all the early reports we heard about, we cried out, we gave warnings and all of that, although there's no audio, the videotape does appear to belie the kinds of explanations the top brass at the Cleveland Division of Police were giving in a press conference shortly afterwards. In under 1.7 seconds, they acted. Tamir, rest in peace, never stood a chance. And then look what the video depicts. Shortly thereafter, what you see is two sworn police officers entrusted by this community with badges and guns, letting a 12-year-old boy lay dying and bleeding on the ground without a care to administer any first aid. A complete indifference to the life that was ebbing away in front of us. That's what the video showed. So why do we need supposed experts to tell us what we see with our own eyes? And so with that background, I will now share with you at some level of detail, and in as objective a manner as I am able, what Samaria Rice and her counsel, who are simply speaking for and acting and advocating for her and her family. That's it. What we have been experiencing in our engagement with the prosecutor's office. Because you will not hear this unfiltered rendition through media outlets. Early on, I think it's fair to say that Samaria was cautious cautiously optimistic. There was a meeting, it was in the late spring, early summer, May, around June, May or June. There was a meeting that Samaria Rice and the lead counsel in New York had with the prosecutor's office, and it was cordial and it was professional. And Samaria left that meeting feeling as though the prosecutor is going to take some time here and try to be careful and thoughtful in the way that he approaches it. Unfortunately, things then started to go off track. In mid-September, we had a meeting with, we thought we were going to be meeting with Tim McGinty, our elected prosecuting attorney. He didn't show up. We were with his two assistants. And we were surprised by that because counsel came in from New York to meet with Prosecutor McGinty, but he wasn't there. We met with the assistants. And in the course of that meeting, the assistants talked about how they were going to try to go out and get more reports. But then they talked about we're going to start presenting the case at the end of October, and it might take through the end of December or early January. We couldn't believe what we were hearing. It just seemed so strange that things would stretch out that far, and certainly the time frame about wrapping up at the end of December and the beginning of January sounds like a process that will fizzle out in the middle of the holidays when people aren't paying attention. So that was of substance. But the moment that concerned me was after listening to all of this for some period of time, I asked the question, okay, but what position are you going to take? You've had this case now for months. Are you going to be seeking an indictment or not in this case? What is your view? And these two assistants they broke off eye contact at that point. They wouldn't look at me. They're looking in every direction, like they wanted to disappear and hide. And one of them finally responded, well, of course that's up to the grand jury. And I said, listen, one of those assistant prosecutors I've been acquainted with for a long time. I said, listen, look at who you're talking to. I am a former federal prosecutor. I've done this job. You know that at the end of every case, you wrap it up with the grand jury and you say, okay, ladies and gentlemen of the grand jury, you've heard all of the evidence. Based on the law as I've just instructed you, based on the facts that you have heard, the evidence that you've heard, we, the prosecutors, respectfully request that you return a true bill of indictment against the person being investigated. Or, on rare occasion, you say, you know what, the prosecutor's office, now that we've completed this investigation, doesn't believe charges are warranted. Here's why. We're not asking you to return a true bill of indictment. That happens on rare occasions. Now, at that point, when I called them out on it, they again still wouldn't answer and said, well, that's up to the prosecutor and that. They just wouldn't answer the question as to whether they would take a position. And at that point, when we left the meeting, we were very concerned. Because as I said to Ms. Rice and my co-counsel, listen, this is pretty weird, where they're acting all agnostic, like I have no idea. It's up to the grand jury. To me, that appears to be prosecutors trying to avoid accountability and to hide behind the secrecy of the grand jury, all the while claiming transparency to figure out a way to get a note without ever having had to publicly commit as to what their position is. So, we were concerned about this, and as many of you know, if you've been paying attention to media reports on this, we started speaking out and calling out for the prosecutor, tell us what your position is. And his response is, well, there's an investigation still going on. I haven't made a position. I haven't taken a position. But evading the question of whether he will take a position or not. Fast forward then to October 9th of this year, a Friday. That morning, my co-counsel in New York received repeated messages from the assistant prosecutors, having to get a hold of them, almost urgently. And they said, we got these two expert reports in that say that the officers should be exonerated. We were taken aback by this. We said, well, can we see them? Can we examine them and offer criticisms? said, well, no, but they're going to be released at some point. We said, when? We would like to review these and comment before you do this. We don't know when, they said. I talked to a member of the media yesterday who said they received the reports that afternoon.
I call bullshit.
And the following day, Saturday, October 10th, at 1 o'clock, I received a call on my cell phone from a reporter from the Associated Press who said, as you know, the prosecutor is going to release reports tonight on his website. Will you be available for comment? I said, well, I don't know anything because the prosecutor of Cuyahoga County, Tim McGinty, has not had the courtesy or decency to the Rice family to tell us that he was going to release these, which must have been the plan all along. They lied to us on Friday morning when they said, we don't know when we're going to release these.
I call bullshit.
They lied to us. They lied to Samaria Rice. And so I hit refresh on my browser over and over again from 5 o'clock on with no information from the prosecutor, not knowing what was going on, not knowing what these so-called expert reports would say. And at 8 o'clock, they pop up on my browser. At 8:04 p.m., I receive a call and an email from the Associated Press with the story already written, just asking me for comment. I said, how am I supposed to thoughtfully and intelligently comment on the contents of these reports when I've had 4 minutes? I said, boy, you sure wrote that story fast in 4 minutes. Well, of course, we've had this since earlier today. And as did Cleveland.com. Their story went up right away. And no one from Cleveland.com called us, by the way. So, what took place on Saturday, October 10th, was a sandbagging of the Rice family. And from the Rice family's perspective and from her counsel's perspective, it was an effort at sabotaging the prospect of accountability. And then we did read the so-called expert. And let me give you a little bit of information. If you want more on this, you can visit our law firm website, chandralaw.com. Look at the news and blog, and you'll find the letters we've written